it will be read for you as we always do. Today, just like I keep saying, governance is a serious business. And it's serious because it affects your life, it affects my life. And that's why it is very serious. Right from the beginning, we decided that celebration is over. We need to zoom into real action. By God's orchestration, last election, we had overwhelming majority in Parliament. In this Fourth Republic, that is like the first of its kind, I should presume. And that's why it's important for us to be very, very, very interested in what is happening in Parliament. Because that is where, it is one of the arms of government, and that is actually where policies are made. And so we'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, just as you saw on the screen, the topic that we are going to concentrate a bit more on Parliament today to see whether or not Parliament, as an arm of government, is doing what needs to be done. Stay tuned, and when we come back from the break, I'm going to introduce to you my guest that we have for this evening's conversation, and we'll get into the conversation. Just stay tuned.
Welcome to the Royal Dazzle Event Center. With a lush and well-maintained lawn and garden, you are assured of the best serene and comfortable atmosphere to organize all your family and social events. Live the royal moments here with friends and family. The hosting capacity of 600 to 800 people makes Royal Dazzle the most versatile of places to host weddings, parties, funerals, conferences, concerts, and many more. Create your memories with us. Call us for inquiries on 055-814-8585 or 024-620-2144, or pass by and speak to any of our friendly staff. Locate us at My John, close to Zoom Lion headquarters. Royal Dazzle Event Center, creating memories.
If I cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehin fapa na menya bosia edia tre medjuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre mi yebusia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodo bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekuro bosia, susu account. And it does our savings account. Me bada chain savings account. And then the keka home. Suhum Rural Bank was 03422919896. Now one so what to me aka say.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Me damwase.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Welcome to Auto Check Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to Accra.
Sure.
Check, auto checks. Check, auto checks. Check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check. Visit Auto Checks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Check, auto checks.
Auto checks. Check.
Auto Checks, your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
Back. My name is Emmanuel Wilson Jr., as I indicated earlier, and today's conversation is centered on one arm of government. You know, we have the legislature, we have the executive, and then we have the judiciary. Today we are looking at the parliament, or what we call the legislative arm of government. And the reason why we are looking at that place is because that for me, is one of the most important, if not the ultimate. But one of the important arm of government that all of us need to look at, and we need not underestimate it. It is not for fun that anytime there's a coup d'etat, the first place that is affected most has to do with Parliament. Parliament, per our laws, is supposed to serve as the supervisor of our democracy. Parliament, by law, is supposed to be the only place where laws are formulated. And if we are believing in the democracy that we are practicing, that which distincts us as a democratic country from any other country that does not practice democracy is the fact that we've agreed to subject ourselves to a rule of law. And the rule of law comes or emanates from parliaments. And that is why it's very, very important for us to be very interested in anything that goes on there. Our democracy hinges on that. Today, we are going to have a conversation on parliament, and we are asking ourselves whether the parliament we are seeing is indeed a parliament that's supposed to make laws or a parliament that breaks laws. And so today's conversation is Christian Ghana's parliament, the house of lawmakers or lawbreakers? That is the question we're asking ourselves. Get interactive with us. Share your ideas with us. Share your comments, your opinions, and even if you have questions, you can also share them with us. Our WhatsApp line will be exhibited on the screen shortly. There are so many things we can look, at when we are talking about the parliament that we have. Remember, we have an overwhelming majority being on one side, and as others would describe it, a micro minority also on another side. So significantly, the majority's presence alone can, ensure that parliament goes on effectively, even without the presence of the minority. And that is where the danger lies, because when it gets to that stage and you're not very careful, there's a possibility that that power will be abused. And when it is abused, it affects you, it affects me, it affects all of us. But today, as I indicated, we are looking at whether or not we have lawmakers or they are rather lawbreakers. There are two gentlemen who are here to help us with this conversation. And the first one I'm going to introduce to you, indeed, both of them are individuals who are not, strangers to this platform. One has been on in studio. This should be about the second or the third time, I'm not very sure, maybe the second time here. And then the other one has been, but not in studio, has always been part of us via, Zoom or electronic means. And I'm making reference to the first person, Dr. Segbefia, who is a senior media practitioner. Doc, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you.
I hope your day was good.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yes, and it's good to see you. This year should be the first time we are meeting, isn't it?
Yeah,
So happy.
This is about the 5th or 6th time that I'm coming.
You are coming here. Oh, that's okay. That's interesting. But I'm talking about us meeting this year.
Yeah,
this should be the first time we are meeting.
Exactly.
So Happy New Year. I don't think it's out of place.
returns.
That's right. And then we also have Professor Atta. Professor Atta came all the way from Kumasi. He's the UTAC president and the dean of FASME. FASME, that's Faculty of Applied Sciences and Mathematics Education. Wow, that's a huge one, Prof, that's Apia Minka, right? Akentin Apia Minka, University of Skills Training and Entrepreneur. Doc, welcome.
Thank you very much.
How was your trip to Accra?
Very nice.
That's good. Did you come by road or by
road?
by
I
road?
have not gotten to inward flights.
Oh, that's
I
good.
always make use of my
Very well.
road. And
Very well.
A road I wish His Excellency John Dramani
Would
would
fix.
nail it once and for all.
Which stretch is that?
Kumasi, Accra, dual carriage from Achimota straight to Juso. I mean, something we should get just right. In fact, Ghana need to get something right.
Right.
With John Mahama, and if not, Ghana is doomed.
It's actually one of the roads that almost all governments have talked about. Rawlings talked about it, Kufuor did same, Atta Mills did same, the first John Mahama did same, the immediate past did same, and now the second John Mahama. We are hoping that, as you indicated, it will be nil once and for all. Once and for all. That's fine. Anyway, so we are talking about Parliament today. Now, a number of things have taken place in Ghana's parliament, and I'm setting the premise here. 3 of them which our conversation will be revolving around has to do with, in recent times, vandalism that we've been witnessing. And remember that vandalism is a criminal offense in this country. And you can make reference to Section 172 and 173 of the Criminal Offense Act 1960. You can also look at the Public Property Protection Act 1977. They all talked against its vandalism, and they describe it as such. Unfortunately, in recent times, it looks like it is becoming a norm. It's happening. We also looked at electoral violence or electoral law breaches or offenses that we've also witnessed in this country over there. In the year 2020, for instance, 7th December election produced some funny reports that came. First one was that in Ewutu Senya West, there was a man who was shot for snatching a ballot box. The same 2020 December 7th election, there was a gentleman in Sene West constituency in the Bono East region, and he was, jailed 5 years. In fact, he was jailed three months. In addition, 5 years ban from engaging in any political activity in this country. And his offense was that he went snatching ballot boxes. That has to do with the electoral breaches that I'm talking about. Then the third one, which is for me very dear, has to do with bribery. In the year 2008, there was a strong allegation of Parliament engaging in bribery activities. It came from individuals like the PC Apiofori, if you remember. In the year 2012, a similar thing happened. In the year 2014, then the minority leader, no, 2014, the majority leader then, and I'm making reference to the gentleman who is now the Speaker of Parliament, Bagman, also came up with a strong allegation of same. The funny thing is, despite all these things, Parliament has a way of shielding these whole allegations, and either they would come out and say that the person involved should apologize, that's the one who is alleging should apologize. They always fall short of pinning the person down to prove. They are quick to receive apologies and throw the issue away. And it raises concern as to whether these individuals are really hiding something. That's Parliament, is hiding something or not. Indeed, it is also against our laws. If you look at Article 35(8) of the 92 Constitution, if you also look at Section 42 of the Interpretation Act 2009, Act 792, and if you also look at Section 239 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, that is Act 29, it all talks and frowns on bribery. It's a criminal offense. The interesting thing is that it is Parliament that enacted these laws. Individuals outside Parliament engages in these things, and they are penalized. I gave a reference to the Ewutu Senya West. Someone was shot. The same offense took place in Parliament, in the presence of police and military. And the individuals that were involved were actually protected and given escorts all the way to their homes because they are supposed to be honorable members. Bribery, vandalism, it is happening. The same thing happens outside Parliament, and it is treated as a criminal offense. Very, very recent one has to do with a gentleman who alleged that the vetting committee that we are having now have been engaged in some, 500,000 money that they were taking from individuals before they vet them, Now, there's a serious allegation that came, and it borders on corruption, bribery. Strangely and disappointedly, for me, I was so disappointed. This individual came, and the best we could get from it was that he apologized for saying that, and it was left to go. Is Parliament hiding something? Or Parliament as Parliament? Because they are Parliament and they are supposed to enact law, they are free to break the laws. Before I come to that topic or that question, I want to ask Prof. That would be your preliminary getting into the conversation, what is your assessment so far of the current parliament we have? Honestly, your assessments. They are less than a month. Oh no, they are now over a month old now. What is your assessment? Yes, I grew up if you are not.
In fact, let me take this opportunity to say hello to all our cherished viewers and listeners all over the country and worldwide. And let me tell my UTAG members in Amstead and the people of Ashanti region, the central region, I greet you all. And let me say that, you see, the first public appearance of this parliament, apart from election of the speaker and the other, is the vetting committee. And I can tell you that the work of the vetting committee has been a bit disappointing, to be frank with you. And I can say that if that's how this parliament is going to be, then although we have a whooping majority with a micro minority, I call it, it is going to be very uninteresting. Yes. I must tell you that the NDC as a political party must sit up. Under no circumstance should you have such a majority in parliament and leave the parliament to the control of the NPP. That is not correct. In fact, if you are going to compare what is going on at the vetting committee to the general house, then there's a lot to be done.
Right.
A lot needs to be done. Because to some of us, we are getting a bit uncomfortable.
If you mention that you are disappointed, particularly with the vetting process, what exactly do you mean?
It's not as for the process, I'm not disappointed that much because they are following their house rules. You understand me? The rules of their house is what they are following. So that one, if that is what their rules says, if you are disappointed in the rules, then you are disappointed in Parliament because they enacted those rules. But to be frank with you, I am so much uncomfortable the way and the manner they are allowing the minority leader to control that vetting thing. Okay. I mean, the question is that on what ground could you give somebody 3 hours? Question is, I mean, what is it? Okay. Please, it is time the minority leader get to know that, hey, he's not in the courtroom. Yes, you are master of cross-examination. Who cares about that? Here, you didn't come to cross-examination.
There are others who are of the view that it's not really about how long a person takes, but it is more of the quality of the question. Now, you see, vetting in itself, the rationale for vetting is supposed to let us see the quality of the person that we are bringing on board. The question I want you to answer for me is, looking at the questions that seems to be coming from the vetting process or that came from the vetting process, do you think those questions are relevant enough to let us, the public, know whether or not the one being vetted is qualified for the position?
I would say no to some great extent, because if you check the questions they ask, especially the questions from the ruling, some of them are not challenging enough. Right. They think that, oh, they are our own colleague, so we praise the nominee more than asking nominee what he's bringing on board and what he can do. Right. Then the opposition, the minority, are also settling scores. So one side is settling scores most of the time. The other side is also praising. So getting actually what need to be asked to get people that, oh, this is what we expect and this is what the person has said and this is what we can even hold them on. We are rather interrogating their properties, what you have said against someone, what your media engagement you have done, and all those questions you are asking, I can tell you on authority will not change it, especially when they are brought to the floor, you don't have the numbers to even change anything. Then you are just wasting the public time. And that is the main reason why I think that.
You are disappointed.
I don't think staying on one person for 3 hours, and some of the questions are so irrelevant. Irrelevant. I mean, you cannot know where it is ending or where it's beginning from. By the time you realize, like, the person just need to ask questions.
That's right.
The person needs to just flex the model that, oh, I am this. No, but that is not correct.
I agree.
They have wasted public time.
I agree with you. Prof, I'll come back to you. Doc, your initial comment. So far, how do you assess the parliament we have?
Well, let me also take the opportunity to wish your cherished viewers and listeners a very happy new year. Yes, just like Prof has said, you said something earlier that agrobeswa of Yanopa. Let me say that the 275 honorables that we have in today's parliament.
Now we have 276 because the Ablekuma North is still in contention. So North doesn't have a representative now.
So it's 275.
Yes, 276. 276.
No, it's 275. They are supposed to be 276.
Yes. But
so they are 275.
Is it 267 or 275?
No, 275.
Beautiful. Yeah,
good.
275.
You know, they are, shall I say, a macrocosm of the populace of this country.
Very true.
The way the generality of the people think, that is the way they are also. They mirror us. They mirror us. If you look at the way the run-up to election 2024, and immediately thereafter, all the hoopla about who has won, who hasn't won, and all that kind of thing has dovetailed into the behavior of the people we have elected into parliament. Now, Prof touched on the vetting. You see, that also shows the disrespect that the Ghanaian has for, one, his next door neighbor, the disrespect he has for himself, and the disrespect he has for laws.
That's right.
Why am I saying this? You decide that you are going to vet nominee A, B, and C. You give nominee A 9 o'clock to show up to start their vetting. Then you give nominee B 11:30. Nominee C maybe 1:30 or 2 o'clock because you're going to break for lunch, isn't it?
That's right.
Good. Now, while nominee B is waiting to come in at 11, by the time you finish with nominee A, it's 4 p.m. You understand that? Then we are told that, of course, it is quite true that if the majority should vet their own kind, they will handle them with kid gloves. So the minority is supposed to be punchy. We are told that the ranking member, in this case who happens to be the minority leader, has unlimited questions to answer. So if
convention.
That's the convention. But then respect for others should make them mindful that we have somebody who is coming at 11:30. So if you want to ask a zillion questions from Accra to Papua New Guinea, ask the zillion questions within the time frame. You see the point? Ask your whatever number of questions within the time frame so that the other person can also come. The convention here is that when a nominee is coming, paramount chiefs from their area follow them. Directors or chief directors of the ministries that they are going to, be posted to, they'll all be there. And then all these people come in, and then you sit down and be looking them in the face and be, at times, forgive me, when I was schooling, I never knew till today, I don't know how to use dictionaries. So I don't know the difference between vetting, interrogating, and grilling. You understand that?
And cross-examination.
And cross-examination. You see, all you need to do is to look at the competencies of the nominee for the position he's going to occupy and the CV the person has presented. You vet him according to those two criteria. You understand that? But to, veer into others' personal life, if you have, gone to the UK to do your postgraduate or whatever, can you let us have, the cost of the ticket and all that? This is infantile. It's infantile. So you realize that it now boils down to the personality of the person who is asking the questions. You understand that? Who is asking the questions? We and the as is being shown on the screen, these are lawmakers who are breaking the bones of the tables.
Yeah, that's right, and that is one of the things we'll be getting to.
Just
vandalism.
Yes. Just a couple of weeks ago, some pastor or some preacher, they called him, went and vandalized some SUVs in Parliament House.
Right.
He's been jailed for 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what is going to happen to you?
That's the question.
To these people who are doing this thing, or one thing we also need to understand: do they have immunity once they are in Parliament or inside the chamber? Do they have any immunity? For which reason? When a member of Parliament, honorable, so to call him, could pick a ballot paper during election of the speaker, chew it, and then engage in fisticuffs in the presence of police and military, as you introduced, as two, nothing has been said about that. When it is their own, it must have a certain protection. But fortunately, this thing that happened in the full glare of the public, because the cameras were there. The cameras were there. So today, we've seen videos of students in senior high schools using cutlass to whip one another. Can the MPs who we have seen in this video go to Accra Academy and tell the students to behave? If they themselves, as the honorables that we call them, could break chairs and tables. That's why I said from the get-go that they are a macrocosm of who we are.
Look, let me ask you, since you are still on the floor, let me ask you this question. We saw what happened, and we are still looking at it on the screen. So, viewers, those of you who are not privy to the video that is going on, this is exactly what happened during the vetting, where individuals that we've voted for to represent us, they reflect us in the constituencies that they come from, decided to take the law into their own hands. And you see, what this communicates clearly is that, and I'm happy you made mention of students being bullied on some of our secondary school campuses. Now, what these individuals are communicating to us through this act is that when there is a misunderstanding, you should use violence to resolve it. That's exactly what they are communicating to us. And these are individuals who are supposed to be our reps. You go to the constituencies, and the first person you are looking for is the member of parliament. They represent us over there. I want to, and this is the school, the students, I mean, our kids. And I think this is Accra Academy.
And should that cutlass slip from a different angle, you know what's going to happen?
So how can parliamentarians decide? Because they also have committees on education and the rest.
Exactly.
Are you sure the members that forms the committee on education in parliament will have any moral right to condemn these children?
That's my point. You understand that? That is exactly my point. You see, he's holding a cutlass. Should the cutlass tilt from his hand at a certain angle, what it means is that he is likely to slash the mate.
Yeah.
You understand that?
What is it? You see, Parliament, indeed, as I said, is the one arm of government that we have. Over the past period, we've seen all these things happening, and we are never getting to the root of it. Bribery, we don't get to the root of it. Electoral breaches, we don't get to the root of it. We have vandalism, we don't get to the root of it. This video we're watching, just some days back, the speaker came out to say that he has suspended the individuals that were involved. There are those who have made the arguments that the suspension is not enough. There are even those who have made the argument that the speaker doesn't have any locus to go into that. But my question I'm asking you is this. Whether they've been suspended or not suspended, it breaches or offends the criminal provision that we have. In other words, what they did amounts to a criminal offense. What makes it so difficult for the police to enforce the law when it involves politicians and particularly the parliamentarians?
Yes. You see, we have a situation where we have been, even some of these institutions have been cowered into subservience to the politician. They wouldn't want to be responsible for doing what they are supposed to do. That is why, whether it is lawful or unlawful for Right Honorable Speaker Bagni to do what he did, I personally support him. Right. He has reported the matter to the police for investigation. So it means an authority has now given power to the police to do what is right. He has also set up a parliamentary subcommittee to investigate the matter. You understand that? I have heard that members of the minority caucus of parliament have taken umbrage that the speaker has no right to, it was unfair for the speaker to do what he did. That one, well, the legality should be tested in the law courts. But there is then, and I heard Honorable Afenyo Makin saying elsewhere that the chairman of the vetting committee, who is the first deputy speaker of parliament, had not made any formal report to the speaker. Right. Which means by that, but he's implying that until a report gets to the speaker had no right to act. But then the speaker might have, in his office, been watching the proceedings on television. Did he have to wait for a report to preempt, future occurrence of what he was seeing? Right. I think it's a very good measure the Honorable Speaker has carried out. This time, let us not wait, and then all these things are going to be papered on, and then we see nothing. So what when Bakavomao, yes, when he was invited to,
we'll get to that one.
Okay,
we'll get to that one. So what you are saying, what it means is that for the speaker to refer the case to the police, it is in the right direction.
I think it is in the right direction.
Isn't it so, ironical that this thing happened in the presence of the police, and yet the police could not effect any arrest, and we are waiting for Parliament through Speaker to refer the case to police before police decide to do something. What is it about Ghana's laws that it looks like we are all not equal before the laws?
You see, truth must be said. This chaos was brought by the minority. It's simple. The minority caused this chaos. You could see that the minority were the people who were trying to turn the table. Majority was trying to protect the table. Unfortunately, the police were standing helpless. And they were helpless because those who are causing this violence were people who were just so powerful last month. In fact, just a little mistake can cost your promotion, even in your police service. And this is the person who has just lost power miserably, now turning tables and putting chairs on tables. I have a little bit of a solution. Constitutional review. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has done well. And I hope this review will not fail. You know what? This country, we need to go hard on politicians. Then politicians will respect the citizenry. I am proposing that 2028 election, when the constitutional review is done, and this is my proposal to the commission, 50% of the regions must be won before you can be declared a president of Ghana.
Okay, but I'm coming. That's a proposal we may want to interrogate. But how does that connect to? Because I want us to dwell a bit more on the question I asked. And the question is, why is it difficult for the police? They could have effected the arrest. Now you were talking about the fact that probably those who engaged in it some days back, they were powerful. And so the police, so you are cementing the fact that the police failed to do their work because what? They were scared of the people involved. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying, that the police gets their daily bread from the politician.
Can I hazard a guess here?
Please. Okay.
It's, you see,
yes.
the law, is it the law or the policy or whatever they call it, that has to do with, arrest of a member of parliament?
Yeah.
I hear there is a law on his way to parliament or on his, or when he's in parliament.
Yeah.
When he's in parliament, in the performance of his duty, whether he's turning tables or chairs or whatever, or he is out of parliament on parliamentary duty, he cannot be arrested.
Exactly.
So, whether he's breaking chairs or tables or engaging in fisticuffs, so long as he is in the house, interpretation.
That's right.
You understand that? So the interpretation may be that, well, they cannot be arrested. Yes, so the police will look on.
Arrested, but they can be prevented from destroying properties of the state.
No, because the question he asked was
that is true.
Why?
But the question is, why didn't they effect the arrest? And truly, just like Doc said, it's because of the convention, the standing orders that protects the parliamentarians. But the protection is limited to as long as you are in your parliamentary duties.
Yes.
So then again, when they finished, they all decided to go home. They were no longer engaging in parliamentary activities. Why couldn't the police arrest them?
And that is why I told you that.
Doc, you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Good.
They get their daily bread from the politician. It's simple. The police in this country is toothless to the politician, but very, very, very strict on the civilian. Normal people like us.
Okay.
Now wait, let me because somebody may not understand why I say they get their daily bread from the politician. As you speak, now power has changed. IGP Dampare is thinking because he might leave. All the police hierarchy. In fact, I said it in one of the TV stations that His Excellency should be quick to change his security capos because they can make him and unmake him.
Okay, Prof. Let me add to what you're saying. So I may not necessarily agree with you saying that they take their daily bread from the politicians. That might be extreme. Probably, and that's why I was interested in the constitutional review proposal you were making. Probably it is because of the kind of constitution we are having, where the executive, which is obviously made up of politicians, have so much powers when it comes to even appointing who heads the police service.
Sure.
How the police service, individuals in it are promoted, how they are transferred, and all that. So in that vein, I will want to agree with you that it is more of the constitution that we are using, where we give so much powers to the politicians, and not necessarily they feeding on the politicians, but the powers that give. You mentioned rightly, you are talking about IGP Dampare. Now there's a change in power or government. He's wondering, and that has been the convention, whether or not he's going to be retained or he's going to be taken out. And so that again will even influence how he behaves and all that. And so I think one of the solutions, just like you were making reference to, has to do with our ability to review the constitution such that powers given to the executive or the politicians will be reduced. Not only that, also where we have per the standing orders which Doc was making reference to earlier on, we should give immunities to our leaders, but the immunities should be reviewed when we realize that they are abusing it. So if today I know that I can hide behind that immunity that says that if I'm in parliamentary environment, even if I'm committing an offense, I cannot be arrested. Does it mean that if I'm a parliamentarian and in front of a policeman, I decide to shoot a colleague parliamentarian in parliament, I cannot be arrested? Is that what that means? Are you getting it? Because they are all defined as crimes. And so these are the things I think we need to look at and see how we can review it. If the immunities are being abusive, for instance, what we are seeing right now, clearly it is being abusive. We find a way of reducing it and say that, okay, we can protect you in certain aspects, but when it gets to certain aspects, we cannot protect you. Crime is crime, irrespective of where it is being committed. You can't go to Speaker's office and commit crime and say that because I'm in Speaker's office, I shouldn't be arrested. I don't think that is what we need to do.
No,
but, yes, okay.
No,
you want to?
Please, you see, the issue or what happened there, it's not even, we didn't need arrest here. When this thing started, we saw that the only way they wanted to destabilize or close is to destabilize the place. So the police standing there were not supposed to look on. If you check, they could not prevent them. They were just standing there, and sometimes they try, but they are afraid even to tell. In fact, if you and me sitting here were causing this, the police would have just pulled you without thinking. So why couldn't they prevent them?
No problem. You see,
preventing you does not mean I'm arresting you. You are protecting public property.
Right.
But you see, let me tell you something. You see, our parliament sometimes cannot be tolerating. And that is why if you allow me to end with this constitutional review.
Okay, let's be snappy so we go to the next one. Yes.
I think that our Ghanaian politicians, when we get power,
yes,
we don't tolerate one another. All is because of winner take all. And one thing I've come to realize in this country is that if NDC should come to power, and it is required of the NDC to have 50% of the regions, 16 regions now. So if you cannot win 8 regions with 50% plus 1, you cannot constitute a winner take all, government. If you want to have a winner take all government, get 50% plus 1 in all the 8 regions in this country. If you don't get, and automatically, let's say you get 50% plus 1 from the total valid vote cast, but at the end of the day, you were unable to make 8 regions, you do not win in 8 regions in this country, then we are supposed to have a union government.
Right.
By having that union government, what is going to happen is that even in parliament committees, the ruling party cannot chair all the committees. Currently, as we speak, all the committees are chaired by the ruling party except Public Accounts Committee.
No, not all.
Not all.
A number of them, because now we have a new standing order.
Okay, then
so there are a number of them that are being chaired by the other.
That's
side.
I know. But before then, I think it was
that was
Public
before
Accounts
then, yes.
Committee. Yeah. And when it happens this way, even if you are having union government, you are going to have the opposition also having certain number of ministers in government because you are having a union government.
Right.
That one, I'm telling you, there will be some level of tolerance.
Yeah.
And I am telling you that, look, under no circumstance should we even have a political party to use 2 regions, 3 regions, and win power and say I want to govern the entire country.
That's right. Let's get back to Doc. You wanted to add something to it before I move to yes.
As for the Constitution Review Committee, they have to look at certain things.
Right.
But then back to the issue Prof raised.
Sure.
You see, if I were part of the police officers there, I would also be powerless. The reason being that they asked, even when the chaos was going on, it means the committee was in session. So if I, as a police officer, had decided maybe to go and take the microphone and say, look, you can do whatever you want to do, but don't damage these things, I'll be in contempt of that committee.
Very true. That's true.
The very people you want to prevent from disgracing themselves, they will haul you and tell you you are in contempt of the committee.
But you could have prevented them.
No, you couldn't.
Let's go to the next one. And that has to do with the bribery. As I indicated, a number of times we've had, allegations, bribery allegations in Parliament. And for me, I started being interested in it right from Honorable P.C. Appeal-Fori's time when he, in 2008, came up strongly to speak and tell us all that there's a lot of corruption, bribery, 5,000, then followed by another one, and it moved on, and it moved on, and it moved on, and it moved on. If you add it to the very recent one, which was, I think, somewhere last week or so, where the gentleman comes out and says that the Parliament Vetting Committee are requesting 500,000, or they did request 500,000 Ghana cedis from the nominees before vetting and approving them. Another serious allegation, where we get to a stage where we needed him to come and prove so that we can fight corruption together, bribery together. This man comes, and the best he could tell us was that he wants to apologize. And strangely, the chairperson of the committee, who a day before was so angry and was all over in the news, so angry, day after, this gentleman comes to sit in front of him, and he's coercing or pushing his colleagues to accept the apology for them to move on. What got me worried was when Honorable Afenyo Markin intervened and tried to they had a little banter, himself and the counsel for the guy. And then he went on to make a statement which was worrying to me that, look, all of us want to make progress with this. We had a certain mindset, but because of influences and calls that we are receiving from certain quarters, we've all agreed to accept the apology and move on. That is worrying. Does it mean that there was really something happening, but because of influences from somewhere, they decided to just hide? For us all to still believe that we are having a parliament, a credible parliament, but in reality, it's a parliament that is engulfed with bribery and corruption.
You know what? When I saw on Facebook the day Bakavoma was summoned.
Yes, that's the name, yes.
And he posted out there that he would be glad to go and meet with the committee the next day.
That's right.
I sat back and I said, Jesus Christ, Ghana is going to open up and get cleansed. You see, the confidence with which he agreed he was going there,
that's right,
made me feel he had something that he was going to reveal.
Sure.
Though I had a lot of engagements that day, I decided to sit and watch. And when I saw the caliber of lawyers, Tio Adaudu,
that's right,
the former
Chief
of Staff
yes,
to Jerry Rawlings,
yes,
Atudazi, and the other lawyers who were mentioned.
That's
and there was also a friend of the court,
that's right,
who also came in there.
That's right.
I said, look, something definitely was going to happen, and that would change, the perception and concretize something for us.
That's right.
Then all of a sudden, the way things were going, then it was seeming as if the gentleman didn't even have any proof. The gentleman didn't even have any evidence. And all that, then I was like, the courage with which this guy said he was coming here, what's happening? You mean?
Yeah.
You see, what's happening? So that also has killed the fight against corruption.
Exactly. Yeah.
He may have it, but you may have the evidence, but you may not have the proof. That is the point. Because if I give you a bribe, I cannot come back and say I have bribed you, because the vicarious liability is on me as well, as the giver of the bribe.
That's right.
You, the taker, you've broken the law. I have also broken the law. So some of these things may happen. Nobody gives bribe in the open. It's only some of our Ghanaian police officers who can take things in the open. We all know these things. You understand that? But with politicians, the horse trading, the behind the scene, machinations and all that these things do happen. But to come to the fore, I think we have been denied, we have been denied the meat in this perception of corruption, even at the law-making end. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. These things are going to continue. But having said that, you see, I feel very uncomfortable anytime appointment marking is either vetting or cross-examining. The reason, behind this assertion is that, with the MPP now, they are called, is it micro or mini micro,
That's right.
minority, and all that kind of thing. You see, when you study human anthropology,
Right.
you will realize that when there is an extremely short person in a sea of giants,
Yes.
he has to flex, he has to make noise to be seen. Because ordinarily, the people tower above him. So he has to make a lot of noise, he has to do a lot of flexing to be seen. So the minority right now will have to do a lot of flexing, they have to make a lot of noise to be seen, to be, doing something.
Right.
But when you look at the Afrobarometer,
Yeah.
on the performance of Appointment marking alone, and the marks he has got, if I were in his shoes, this is the time for him to sober down. You see, you don't need to be rambunctious,
Right.
belligerent, or combative to be able to achieve. This evening at 6 o'clock, I watched him on one of the sister TV stations.
Right.
And he was even determining what questions the interviewer should even put to him. Otherwise, he was going to get out of the
Very
chair
well.
and leave the studio.
So I'll come back to you, Doc. Prof, what is your take on how this perceived or alleged bribery, allegations are being handled in Parliament?
You see, for me, I think that the issue of corruption should have a different way of dealing with. Because if we don't do that, there is no way we can catch someone who is corrupt in this country.
Right.
And that is why this thing, excuse me to say, my pastor don't sack me from church. Because we swear with the Bible, but we don't seem to fear the Bible. We swear with the Bible, but we don't seem to be afraid of the Bible. And so, unfortunately, we can swear, sleep on the Bible, and still lie. My brother, the truth of the matter is that why would a politician share money to win primaries? A politician share money to win general election. A politician who takes 15,000 Ghana cedis as our MP nominees indicated to us.
As salaries.
As salaries. 15,000 cedis. And with all the monies they share in this country, so where do they get it from? you don't take care, then you'll be caught in the dilemma of when people say that even some politicians engage in drugs.
Right.
Because the question is that you cannot. Sometimes I was telling somebody, as an university professor, January did not end, my salary was finished. January did not end, my first salary was finished. So the question is that.
So how did you get petrol to come to Accra?
Is it?
How did you buy petrol to come to Accra?
My wife.
Oh, that's funny. That reminds me of someone.
The question is that with all this small salary that you are taking, in fact, if you are taking 15,000 a month, then the year is 180,000. Yes. Now 180,000. Look at the money you shared for your primaries. So aside your salary, even that salary you take cannot give you a good business, cannot build you a multinational business that you can say that, oh, just because of this work that I have done. So with all this thing that is coming to the public domain, oh, I take this amount, this is my salary, and all those things, then it feeds into the allegation that no, aside your this thing, something else comes to you. Remember, Honorable Joseph Osewusu, when Oliver said this, I heard him say that indeed in time past, when they finish the what do you call it, the vetting, the chief of staff, I don't know whether I'm right on this.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, the chief of staff sends them some envelopes. The question is that the envelope, is it what do you call it, the envelope from their sitting allowance? And Ghana here, okay, some sitting allowance you even sign, but this envelope you take, I don't think you sign.
We should have looked to find out where that money
from. You see, so it tells us that yes, the person might have something truthful about it.
Right.
However, in this country too, one, we say that the elderly are never wrong, and in this case, Parliament is an elder in this country. I'm not talking about the persons who are there. Parliament is an elder, executive is an elder, judiciary is an elder, so they can never be wrong.
Sorry to cut you. With all the things you've said, will it be fair for anyone to suggest that all these allegations we are having, there's some iota of truth in them? Is it fair for someone to make that comment?
Men always told us that there's no smoke without fire.
Very well. So then that can be.
That's what the old men said.
I'll come back to both of you as we wrap up. But let me quickly go through some of the messages that we have here. And then in wrapping up, you may want to add, make a comment to some of the messages if you so wish. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Thanks for your good work. I think Afenyo Markin is frustrated due to the election defeat. That's why he's misbehaving himself. He should respect mandate of Ghanaians and rules of the Speaker of Parliament. I am DMX from Kintampo North. Okay. The minorities, Afenyo Markin and the NPP, are more than lawbreakers. Nana Addo has handed over the distraction of NPP to Afenyo Markin. God help him to succeed. This Richard from Central Tongue, Aditome. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please, John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, should help Ghana prisons with vehicles and also increase the feeding rates of the inmates because they are suffering from KK Kumasi. Very well. Hi, Honorable Wilson. Afenyo and his team should know that even the doors of the Supreme Court are still open, but today there's no force on judiciary to rule to their favor. Minority leader is behind all that MPs are doing. To conclude, MPP is partly of lawbreakers, and Honorable Aban should have given 4 weeks plus. Okay, I can't get the words very well, Ishmael. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. In fact, Ghana's parliament is a house of lawbreakers. When an ordinary Ghanaian snatches a ballot box, that person is shot to death. Parliamentary House did same, yet none even brought to books. We need to hold the bull by the horns. This chaos is always caused by the parliamentary members, which we are all aware. Why can't we as Ghanaians be open and the mother, okay, this is Joshua from Nkranza. I can see that Honorable Afenyo is on the vetting committee only to score for disgraceful defeats. Okay, in fact, Ghanaians should be happy we voted out the NPP. All the MPs who got involved in should not be addressed as honorable members, but horrible members. And this is from Amanwura Peter, Sunyani New Doma. Mr. Wilson, I think the number of parliamentarians are too many. Why can't the law be amended to reduce the members to about 8 from each side? And the questions to be in relation to the job in question. From Sam Bosukpong. And Sam, I'm sure Sam's conversation has to do with the vetting. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. In fact, it was just disgusting to see our mentors who are MPs behaving in such a manner. Very, very shameful. I strongly support the Speaker's decision. As for Mr. Fenyo, I don't know what is wrong. It's like he is not out of the shock yet. This is from Reverend Justice Aposa. Who? All right. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. It is evident that the MPP has no love for Mother Ghana. Okay, this is very lengthy. Highness from Chopoli, your message is very long. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Okay, the same thing here. Good evening. My name is Nelson from Takrady. Please tell the minority leader that his questions are exposing their corrupt former government. He should stop it. You didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Wilson Jr., and to the honorable members in the studio. With what happened during the vetting process, we should call them lawbreakers. It's a pity seeing this happen in the House. In the House, we call Honorable House, Parliament House. It's a big shame to them, especially the minority members and their leader. Okay. We are 100% behind the Speaker of Parliament on this, and this is Hussein Mohammed from Sifi Adab Bukrum. Mr. Wilson and panel members, these are our so-called honorables. Are they product? This our so-called, okay, this our honorables or so-called honorables are the product from what we witnessed from Accra Academy. Okay, it's okay. You didn't add your name. Simon Dokpo alias MP from Baglo Buem, Oti region. This is common sense where the speaker has the whether or not a head of the family needs to discipline the family where they are, okay, not so clear. This you didn't add your name, but you say you and I know this country called Ghana. The law only catches the civilians, not the politicians. So you should not be worried. Okay, all right, you didn't add your name. I think the Privileges Committee law has to be reviewed to see the reality of the day. And this is from Clement in Lashibi. So can't we bind, okay, it's a wide disgrace to Mother Ghana for elders like this to react such a harassment action in Parliament whilst countries are waiting. Message not clear. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I'm watching you live from Tamale. Please tell NDC MPs that they are too weak. They should back up. They are allowing MPP to control them, and this is too much. Nana Kwame from Tamale. This one says, thank you, Mr. Host. You have asked my question. So if someone pulled out gun at the room, there, still the police will stand there and look. Okay, so I think it is in reference to the question I posed earlier about the immunities. Okay, more messages are coming in. I may get back to it if the need be, but let me come back. Doc, what should be the solution? It is very clear that our parliament is creating an image of they being lawbreakers and not only making the laws, but they are also quick to break the laws. Unfortunately, our law enforcers seems not to be in a position to enforce the laws when it comes to the parliamentarians. What should be the solution?
Well, I think what we need to do right now is to make sure that the standing orders are reviewed.
But they just finished reviewing the standing orders.
You see,
there's still more room for improvement.
You realize that from the text messages you have been reading, a lot of, almost all of them, that mentioned Afenyo Makin, mentioned him in negative light.
Right.
What that means is that the idea of the minority leader all of a sudden taking charge of the vetting process, and he is asking all manner of questions, whether they are infantile, relevant, or irrelevant. You understand? I think that should be reviewed immediately. You understand that? So that some sanity is brought. At times you see that Afenyo Makin would even be challenging
the chairperson.
He wouldn't want to, unless even when the chairman of the committee rules, he will say, okay, I accept your ruling, but I accept it with an exception. But I will make my point. You understand that? You don't do that. That is not, if you feel, look, I have looked at the personality of Afenyo Makin. I think I have a piece of advice for him. He has claimed all over the place that he is an Anglo man. Certain things he does, Anglo men don't do that. You understand that? Try as much as possible. He claims to be a very patient person, but he never exhibits patience. You understand that? This evening I saw him on television with a book that he claimed was Freemasons and was quoting certain things. Look, even the devil is, of course, the Bible. And the devil is not ugly. Right. You don't come, when you belong to a Masonic society, you don't come on national television and be touting that people say it's a devilish organization and blah, 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 blah. People who think that if it were an open society, let it be open to everybody.
I agree. So you think
the standing order
should be reviewed,
and certain things, and also certain things that he comes in public. I heard him this evening. You were saying before Samuel Jata George came, he had called him and told him that there were certain things that you said during the heat of the political campaign. When you come and I raise those things, please try to tone down and say that you did that you shouldn't have said that kind of thing against the former President Akufo-Addo, against the Chief Justice. What has the Chief Justice got to do with this?
It's sad. It looks clearly.
Some of these things, they are so infantile. You don't come into public and say things like
that. Particularly with our vetting process, we still have a long way to go.
Exactly.
We still have a long way to go. Prof, what will be your solution to this? It is very clear, to a large extent, as I indicated, very large extent, it is very clear that our parliament, that is supposed to be full of honorable members, the parliament is shifting from being lawmakers to also being lawbreakers. What should be the solution?
Yes, the solution lies in the change in the constitution, that's one. But let me be quick to make this. You see, in this country, most Ghanaians sees wrong when NDC is in power. And when NPP is in power, all things look good. NPP breaks the law, does so many things when they are in power. Everybody keep quiet. Then immediately they are off power. And NDC is supposed to benefit from their breaks and even their monies they've made, the ways they've made. Then
they find their voices.
Voices comes in. Then change must come.
I am okay.
Then after the change, when NDC comes, makes reform, change it, NPP will come, destroy it.
Specifically, on the constitution, what should be amended to serve as part of the solutions to what
In
we are
Parliament.
discussing. Yes.
I think that MPs should not be made ministers.
I agree with that.
That I think I agree with you. So
that
the
one-
law that talks about 50 plus 1 coming from parliament to serve in the executive must be expanded. And I think it's something all of us agree on. Your last,
But
yes.
that has disadvantage. You know what? When that is done, if you don't take care, this bribery allegation will escalate.
Everything has-
Yes, it
you know,
may. And that's what I'm saying,
has its
that
own
it can be
advantages and
another
disadvantages.
side.
Exactly.
The rationale for introducing that in the constitution as we have it now, I mean, there's a history to it. And it actually started from the Liman's administration, the 79 constitution that we had. You know, where Liman's administration, we've already been there before. Liman's administration had the free will to appoint almost everyone that he wants to appoint from outside parliament. And these individuals at a point felt like they were bigger than the MPs. And so they will go from late laws, how do you call it, prepare budget and bring to parliament. And they need parliament to approve it, as we all know. And because the parliamentarians felt that they were, you know, those that really won the elections for government to be formed. And now you've become a member, how do you call it, a minister, and you feel that you are more important than me, the MP. So they waited, budget was sent, even though Liman was having majority in parliament. His MPs, because they were already upset with the appointment that were made, which was outside parliament, they decided to turn it down. They turned the budget down. And that's like the first time in the history of Ghana where a sitting government having majority in parliament
Still got his budget not approved.
had its budget not approved. So all these things have its advantages and disadvantages. You understand?
But since we have tried this,
Exactly.
You see, we need people who should be able to make vocation out of being parliamentarians.
Beautiful. I mean, beautiful. Yeah, I agree.
You understand that? When you go to the United States, for example, there are people who have been representatives in the House throughout their lives. And there are people who have been senators throughout their lives. And they have helped build American democracy. None of, you know, the senators and whatever are appointed as secretaries of state and things like that. You understand? We should learn to do that. You understand that? So that we can free. Here is a situation where you are a member of parliament, which means you are a member of the legislative arm of government, and then you are a minister,
as a check
on the executive,
and when you be a referee in your own
exactly,
and a referee at the same time. So that I agree 100%.
So we have to look at how
that we need to look at.
We have to look at how good or bad this idea of 50% plus 1 in parliament being ministers has served us in the past 30 years.
There has been
as compared to the previous.
There has been an occasion that I've had where I had a conversation with some friends in parliament, and I was raising the issue of why would you want to vet individuals and turn the whole thing into, you know, a playing ground. And then he told me that, why don't you know that these are our colleagues in parliament? You want us to probe them so hard? So the difficulty, as you said earlier, is that because they are coming from parliament, we even find it difficult to ask the right questions.
Exactly.
And we find it difficult to get the right persons to fill the right positions.
But,
you know, and it is all because of this.
But, Doc, let
yes,
me tell you something.
Yes.
In fact, if we want to go a review way of the Constitution, if you don't want to go with my proposal of 50% of the regions should be won and all those things, then in fact we should even eliminate election. Immediately after the primaries are done at the distance, we have straight, you finish, you leave, the next person comes. We should make the country two-party state. Because obviously, these smaller parties we have, they are just licking the boot of the bigger party.
I'm sure we'll have another platform to really interrogate this. But clearly, what we've talked about today has to do with Parliament, and it is very clear from all the conversations we've had and the tests that have come in, the comments that have come in. It is, seemingly clear that Parliament is losing its value. and it is speedily moving from being lawmakers to also becoming lawbreakers. And the unfortunate thing is that we are having institutions that are supposed to enforce the law, failing to do same when it comes to parliament. And we said that it probably has to do with the fact that we have standing orders that produces immunities and all that. And now we think that it is time for us to review some of these immunities on parliamentarians, because clearly they are abusing it. And so we need to review this. And most importantly, is for us, as we are going through the process of reviewing the Constitution, it is for us to also look at how we are going to reduce significantly, if not eradicate totally, reduce significantly the number of individuals that we bring from Parliament to be part of the executive. It is very, very, very important. I mean, this is where time will allow us, and I'm very sure that we'll have the opportunity to continue with this conversation. Before I wrap up, I want to say a very big thank you to my two guests that we've had here. We've all learned a lot from each other. Doc, thank you so much. It's always a privilege to have you here. And then, Prof, I'm so happy that you came all the way from Kumasi. I believe you brought some fufu and some other things that we can eat together.
I took the fufu along the way.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Well, thank you so much also for making time to join us this evening. I'm sure at the right time we'll meet again on this platform to have this conversation. Viewers, this is where time will allow us. All of you who did the viewing, we are so grateful. Those who did the conversation with us, sending in comments, questions, and all that, we are so, so, so grateful. My big brother who communicated to me that you are also enjoying the show. I'm making reference to Kobe Fiagbe. Doc, you should know Kobe Fiagbe, right? Yeah, Kobe Fiagbe. So Kobe Fiagbe, thank you so much for also doing the viewing. You know you are my best brother. Thank you so much. On this note, all I can say is this is where time will allow us. God willing, next week, Monday, be prepared for another episode of Politics and Beyond. I am still your host, Emmanuel Wilson Jr. Until we meet again next week, same time, 8 o'clock, on your great platform, TV XYZ. All I can say for now is good night.